So, what does A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein, The Complete Book of Cats, The Complete Book of Dogs, Mouse, M-A-U-S, Calvin and Hobbes, what do any of those books have in common? Well, I'll clue you in. They have now all been banned in several counties in the state of Tennessee, and for stupid, god-awful reasons. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, we've talked about book banning before, and this is nothing new to you guys, but when you see something like, quote, The Complete Book of Cats being banned from a school, you know that there's seriously something that is wrong. So here's what's happening. In Monroe County, Tennessee, 574 books have been purged from their school libraries. In Knox County, more than 100 titles have been removed. More than 150 titles removed in Rutherford County. Over 300 books are banned in Oak Ridge schools, and over 400 titles have been removed in Wilson County. And that does not even account for every county in the state of Tennessee that has been impacted. All of this information has been provided gratefully by PEN America. If you're not familiar with PEN America, I urge you to go and check out their website. Their website is fantastic. And the reason why you need to go check out PEN America's website, and it's www.pen.org, is PEN America is at the forefront of the fight for the First Amendment to protect free expression in the United States and globally. And PEN America actually is an organization that several authors and writers are a part of because they also believe in the importance of the First Amendment and your freedom of expression. But what's wild about this Tennessee county ban is it is so indiscriminate. And listen, as you guys know, I'm from Florida, and Florida has one of the worst book bans in the country. So yes, Florida likes to say, hold my beer often to states like Texas and Tennessee. But Tennessee just goes to show exactly how completely indiscriminate and illogical their book ban is. So I'm going to read you, in 2024, the state legislature amended a state statute. It's entitled, quote, Age Appropriate Materials Act of 2022. And it specifies that any materials, quote, in whole or in part, that contain any nudity or descriptions or depictions of sexual excitement, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse are inappropriate for all students and do not belong in a school library. So what does this mean, though? One, it means that you don't actually evaluate the text as a whole. They're only looking at certain portions of the text. And isn't that freaking convenient, right? It's convenient because if you're trying to apply an overly broad, vague, and unconstitutional statute, of course, this is a convenient way to craft the language of the statute, because then pretty much anything and everything, including the Complete Book of Cats and the Complete Book of Dogs, is going to fall within the purview of that. I'm not sure how, because it's just crazy, right? So what they're doing is these schools are taking just excerpts of books without context as a whole, and they're using it as a justification underneath this Tennessee statute to be able to remove books from school library shelves. So as I mentioned, Shel Silverstein's Light in the Attic, one of my kids' favorites, that's been banned. They Called Us Enemy by George Takei. That's also been banned. Hidden Figures, The American Dream, and the Untold Story of the Black Women Mathematicians Who Helped Win the Space Race by Margot Lee Shetterly. Gone, jettisoned off of school shelves in Tennessee. As of May of 2025, according to PEN America, at least 15 states, including Tennessee, have enacted laws facilitating the censorship of school library collections by expanding the definitions of terms like sexually explicit, obscene, and harmful to minors, requiring school districts to apply such terms in new ways or risk civil or criminal liability for materials with sexual content. The fear is the intention by them, right? If they intimidate you or they make you scared into submission, same type of shit we're seeing with these immigration raids, right? If they scare you into submission, same thing with abortions, right? I mean, this idea that if you don't interpret the law correctly, you could be facing civil or even criminal liability. What are you going to do? You're going to err on the side of caution, right? Especially if you're a school. Now, in Oak Ridge, which is an area in Tennessee, they actually had a book by a guy by the name of Richard Jolly, Jolley. The book was entitled Richard Jolly, Sculptor of Glass, a collection of works by the artist. Now get this, Richard graduated from Oak Ridge High School. He's an alumnus of Oak Ridge High School, and they don't even have his book on their shelves. Why? Because an Oak Ridge school spokeswoman told local news, quote, unfortunately, as an artist, Mr. Jolly's book features depictions of the human body that are in direct violation of the law. But you also, in these public school libraries, cannot read Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird or John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Maus, The Hidden Children of the Holocaust by Esther Mustanowitz is gone. And The Secret Holocaust Diaries by Nona Bannister, also gone. I mean, what's left? I bet you the Bible. I bet you the Bible is left on the shelves in Tennessee. The Bible with its incredibly graphic depictions of sodomy, murder, sex, infanticide, patricide, matricide, every type of side, every type of homicide you could think of, every type of discrimination you can think of, sexual conduct you could think of. It's in the Bible, but the Bible's okay. Why? Because when you're a white Christian nationalist, you don't got a problem with your Bible staying on the bookshelves. But God forbid we learn about the Holocaust, or God forbid we learn about the celebrations of Black women, or God forbid we learn about dogs and cats. You would laugh if it didn't make you cry with the level of absurdity that is happening with this, right? And I want to know, who is asking these officials in Tennessee, please provide what is so wrong about the book, the complete book of dogs and the complete book of cats. If it's ridiculous, it is. Let's talk about a lawsuit though. So PEN America in April of this year, just a couple of months ago, joined 3 students in Tennessee and their parents as plaintiffs in a federal lawsuit that was brought in the Rutherford County against the Rutherford County Board of Education. This is in Tennessee. This lawsuit challenges the book removals that happened in that county, as well as restrictions. And this lawsuit alleges that these restrictions violate the First Amendment right of students to receive information and of the authors to express freely their opinions, their points of view, their perspectives, their art, right? The lawsuit alleges that the First Amendment has been violated because these books have been removed as a result of a Rutherford Board of Education policy banning sexually explicit books. The Board of Education removed or restricted more than 145 titles. And then this is utterly disgusting yet fascinating part about the lawsuit. So the school board, do you know what the school board did? Again, the school board didn't actually go through and have them go through each and every one of the books and read them and understand the context of the books, the historical significance, the cultural importance. None of that, right, came into play. Ready? The Rutherford Board of Education relied on reviews from Book Looks, a now defunct website developed by individuals associated with Moms for Liberty. Book Looks provided ratings for books, penalizing them as inappropriate if they contain, among other things, references to gender identity and sexual orientation, or so-called inflammatory, and that I put that in quotes, rhetoric about race. So yeah, you can't even have books about gender identity, sexual orientation. It is the literal whitewashing of history that's happening. And now it's the continued, frankly, whitewashing of education. Education in schools. I mean, that's the real irony here, right? That this book banning is happening in our schools where our kids are going to get an education. And the education doesn't have to be narrowly only down the path of what white Christian nationalists think is an education. An education includes different points of view, different expressions, different speeches, different, opinions about different people of different colors and different races and different religions and different genders. It is the literal melting pot of ideas from which our children learn. And the fact that you can't get access to books anymore like this in a public school. You may be able to get it in private school, I think. But so what does that mean? So if I can't afford for my child to go to private school, does that mean that my child will then now only have access to books that Moms for Liberty thinks are the kind of books that my child should have access to? Well, I don't want that. And what's wild is, by the way, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Do you guys remember that book? I mean, it's literally this, right? It's the criminalization of being able to actually own a book, physical book, read a physical book. There's only certain books that are countenanced or approved to be able to be read. I mean, this is the agenda. This is a Project 2025 policy. It's a pillar of Project 2025. The idea that you narrowly construe what constitute knowledge and information only through the lens of the white Christian nationalists. And it is no coincidence that these laws are being passed in red states with Republican-led legislatures. It's the Republicans, people. Don't let anybody ever tell you that it's anybody other than the GOP and the Republicans, because that would be a lie. That would be a lie. I want to urge you to support PEN America. I'm not getting paid by PEN America in any way, but I am an advocate. I'm an advocate of PEN America. We need an organization like PEN America to be able to fight for everyone's right to the First Amendment. Everyone's right. They're not saying that it's just for Democrats. They're not saying it's just for public school children. They're not saying it's just for, brown people, Asian people. They're saying that children should have the right to be able to get their information from a different set of books and sources and material. And authors should have the right of free expression in the way that they write their books, present their books, and create their books. And here's the other thing. Nobody is saying that what you do in the privacy of your home is going to be regulated. And yet, I feel like we're on the verge of that. I feel like we're on the verge of having the Trump administration come and knock on your door and go through your library of books at home, go through your iPads and your laptops and your computers to see what type of content you have. Because God forbid, your child is learning about the Holocaust. For an administration that is so fucking hot to trot about combating anti-Semitism, which I am a proponent of combating anti-Semitism, they certainly are quick to make sure that you don't learn about the Holocaust. The wholesale genocide and extermination of the Jews. Can't learn about it, but let's use the anti-Semitism banner to be able to do all sorts of stuff, including under the premise of immigration enforcement. The hypocrisy is rich. We have these conversations here at the Katie Phang News Channel because, again, book bans may not be new to you, but they're still happening, and they're happening at a disturbing and alarming pace. And we have to always remember that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can focus on things like bombings in Iran. We can focus on the decimation of our federal agencies. We can talk about the big bullshit bill, but we can also remind ourselves that book bans are wrong and they're unconstitutional. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability, and go out and read the complete book of cats, the complete book of dogs, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Just go out and read. Read, people. Get an education. I'll see you on the other side.